Alright everyone, it's time for the Sex Abuse Shuffle. I've noticed that the legacy media has really hinged upon this particular line of attack with regards to the Trump transition team. So he's nominated many people for various cabinet positions, advisory positions. Of course, Doge is not actually officially part of the presidential cabinet, for example. What the legacy media is doing is, instead of focusing on the people's qualifications, it's attempting to focus on them having allegations against them in the past. For instance, Gates, who has withdrawn. He will not be Attorney General. This was predictable. I have a feeling that it was still part of a larger plan by Donald Trump. He may end up going for Rubio's seat. We're not 100% sure what's happening with that. You've got, of course, allegations against Trump, most of which have been dropped. You have the obviously salacious case with Jean Carroll against him, which for some reason was upheld even though the evidence was basically, hey, I feel that he violated me. There's literally no further evidence, and somehow Trump has to pay, what, $100 million or some crazy shit like that. Very strange case. I always figured that you had to have at least some evidence to find somebody guilty of a crime in order to force payment or put him in jail. Apparently that's no longer the litmus test. It doesn't surprise me at all. So you have allegations against Trump, Gates, RFK Jr. He's the only one that actually, by the way, acknowledged that he actually did something potentially untoward, apologizing to a nanny for having perved on her in the 1990s. I don't particularly care if you perved on somebody 30 years ago. I'm not paid enough to care about that, but apparently it's newsworthy. Go through this article a little bit. Again, link is in the description. We've also got Hegseth. Matt Gaetz, Pete Hegseth, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Elon Musk are all in line to serve as top government leaders. I'd point out that Musk has not been tapped for an official government office, but whatever. That's just, it doesn't matter. All have faced varying degrees of sexual misconduct allegations. Yeah. The president's picks to carry out his agenda reflect an incoming administration hostile to the norms of the Me Too movement, which, I mean, I don't see that as a bad thing. Behavior that might have gotten a person fired or canceled or not nominated to a cabinet position over the last several years appear to be less problematic in the Trump 2.0 era. And then it goes through the various allegations. Most of them are salacious. They are false. Honestly, this article actually speaks well of these individuals. If you're comparing them to the witch hunt that was the hashtag #MeToo era, that specific era was marked by a bunch of people being falsely accused, and in some cases making out like bandits as a result of countersuing for defamation and things like that. The Me Too era was nothing more than a Salem witch trial for the modern era. And it's funny that they would bring that up, and I'll tell you why they're doing that. They have nothing else to go on. They don't have any legitimate way to attack the views that are actually expressed by these individuals. Let's go through them. Matt Gaetz has been called extreme, sexist, all of these things. Where's the extremism? The average person looking at what he has said, generally speaking, would think, okay, he's a little bit on the glib side. Other than that, though, there's really no extremism there. It's a standard Republican platform for the most part, sprinkled with a little bit of the hashtag MAGA sort of thing. Okay, so there's Matt Gaetz. Elon Musk. What was he best known for a few years ago, before he acquired Twitter? Liberals goddamn loved him. They never cared about those allegations of misconduct at Tesla or anything like that, as long as he was simply churning out electric vehicles. The second that he bought Twitter, all of a sudden, it was all a big problem. And obviously he's a rapist and things like that. When we look at RFK Jr., pervs on a nanny. Okay, I don't give a shit. He doesn't have extreme views either. When you look at what he's actually publicly stated, for the most part it's fairly innocuous. In fact, in some cases it rankles me because it's too left-leaning. For instance, his views on guns, or his belief that people should be able to be sued for speaking out against the climate change bullshit if they happen to own a business. This rankles me. The other things that he said don't really rankle me. They mean absolutely nothing to me. Again, you perved on a nanny in the 1990s. Literally nobody else ever did that. With Hegseth, we have no evidence of any specific wrongdoing. But it's all reported on as though it's self-evidently true now, isn't it? Hegseth, Musk, all of these others. It's reported on by the legacy media, as though the mere claim that somebody has done something wrong, has, raped somebody, sexually assaulted them, maybe just made a perverted comment. It kind of depends on the person. That it's self-evidently true. That it's effectively proven simply by being stated. I used to be of the understanding that's not how the legal system worked, and I used to believe that people were intelligent enough to see through such bullshit. Apparently, I was wrong on both counts. But the legacy media is trotting this out at this particular juncture because they're afraid of these people. They don't want him in Trump's cabinet. They're terrified of Musk, I think, especially because he's got fuck you money, so there's nothing really that they can do to him. They used to love him. He was their darling when he was just building EVs. As soon as he started re-entering rockets and buying Twitter, all of a sudden, of course, he became a very problematic far-right individual. But it's inexplicable. I've been watching this news, and I noticed another thing in closing here. I noticed that the titles of a lot of legacy media articles covering this basic premise, sex abuse in the Trump administration, so to speak, I noticed that they were all very similarly titled, and they were all released in the same 24-hour period. This speaks to one of two things. Either it was a really hot news story, which at this point nobody pays attention to legacy media, so it can't be that, or it was a coordinated hit. It's an attack. What they're trying to do is convince people that the cabinet is effectively illegitimate because of the nature of the people that are in it. Even though that nature hasn't been legally established in any of these cases. I'm seeing more and more of this sort of horseshit. That's about all. Peace out.